Good day, scholars. Today, all right, we're enhancing our game gallery with the MoleMash game. So I'm going to be actually showing you how to create the MoleMash game. Make sure you already have your screen 1 finished with your 2 buttons that go to the respective screens. If you haven't, do that video first. This is video number 2. First, what we're doing, right? For the do now, we're going to learn about what is an event, how are those events triggered, and what is a procedure. All right, and we're going to develop algorithms using events and procedures. Sounds complicated, really isn't. I will explain it as I'm showing you how to make the app. All right. So first, you go to MIT App Inventor, go from your screen 1 to your MoleMash screen, and we're going to start adding some stuff. We're going to add a lot of stuff first off. So if you don't know what's happening, just add it, and it will become more clear later. First, under the Drawing and Animations drawer, I'm going to grab a canvas, drag it over. I'm going to grab, in the user interface, I'm going to grab a label, I'm going to drag it over, and I'm going to grab a button. All right, first, my canvas, let me delete these real quick, and I'll show you where to get them in a second. Our canvas here, canvas, we're going to make the width fill the parent. We're going to make the height of it. Let's say 80% for now. We can always change it if we need to. We're going to change our text. I'm going to rename my text label to score label so I know what it is when I'm coding. I'm going to change the text to score 0. And I'm going to rename my button to reset button. And I'm going to change the text to reset. Alright, so it doesn't look the best, but you can always change this later. Next, we are going to go to Drawing and Animation again, and we're going to add what's called an image sprite. An image sprite is something you put on a canvas that can interact with the user as well as other things on the canvas. Alright, and we're going to make this, we're going to name this image sprite. I'm going to rename it Mole Sprite. There we go. And we're going to put a stupid looking mole up in here. Go to Pictures, right? And I'm going to upload a file. This mole will be available on Classroom under the same heading where you found this video. I suggest using this mole for now. You can always change it later, but just for simplicity's sake, use the mole I give you for now. All right, I'm gonna upload him, hit OK, and there's our little mole. All right, he's not happy because he's gonna be getting hit by a user, right? So next, we're gonna add some other components. Let's go to Media. We're going to add a sound component. Boom. We're going to add a, what else do I need here? I need a clock and a clock component. All right, and I'll explain these as we go along. Let's just jump into the coding. So blocks, right? Let's see. First, what I'm going to do is I need to initialize a variable. So I go to variables. I initialize it. I'm going to call it score. And I'm going to set it to 0 right when the game starts. So on initialization, when the MoleMash screen is opened, it's going to initialize the variable score to 0. All right. Then we're going to make our procedures. I'm going to make 2 of them. I'm going to plop them out right here. I want a procedure that will move our mole. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to name this one move mole. And I want a procedure that will update our score. Right. These are things that I want to happen many different times over the course of a user using this. Right. It's not a one-time thing. The mole's going to move a lot. The score is going to update a lot. That's why I'm making these procedures. All right. So first, with the move mole, I'm going to go to my mole sprite. And when the move mole procedure is called upon, I want it to set the mole x, right, the horizontal, the back and forth on the canvas to a random integer. From 1 to, let's get rid of this 100. From 1 to, let's go to canvas. I'm on canvas here in case you didn't notice. Whatever the canvas width is. All right, that way it just automatically calculates the canvas width and it picks a random integer from 1 to whatever the entire width is. All right, I'm going to control click on that and duplicate. I'm going to set the mole sprite y to a random integer of the canvas height, right? Because the y-axis is the up and down. Right? So whenever this procedure is called upon, it's going to set the mole's x and y coordinates at a random spot on the canvas, essentially. Right? For our update score procedure, I want to find a label here, score label. I want to set the score label text. I just saw it. To, I'm going to get fancy up in here. Text. I want it to join two different strings of information. I want the score label set to be score, colon, space, and then whatever the variable is, right, of our global score. So whenever the score is updated, it's going to set the label to score, colon, space, number, whatever this number ends up being. All right. Next, we're going to make our clock here. Our clock, when the clock timer clicks, right, if you go back to the clock here and you look at it, our time interval is 1 second. 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second because this is in milliseconds. So every second, right, every second we want this to happen. So we go to our procedures, we find our move mole procedure, and every second, right, 1, 2, 3, the mole is moving randomly across our canvas. All right? When the mole, let's code what happens when the mole's touched. So let's find our mole sprite. When the mole is touched, boom, mole touched. We want it to first set the global score to, I'm going to find math here, whatever it was previously, right? So if I hit it, if I touch the mole right now, it'll find that 0 and it's going to add 1. Right? So when I touch it, it's going to up my score, right? And I want, whenever I touch it, I also want this to use my sound here. I'm going to vibrate the thing here. And I'm going to vibrate the phone for the device I'm using for 100 milliseconds. And I'm also going to have it update the score. And I'm going to have it move the mole too. So every time the mole sprite is touched, it gives me an extra point, right? And it updates that text label via this. It's going to vibrate the device, right, to tell me, to user feedback, right? They know they got a point. And it's also going to move the mole automatically regardless of where the timer is. All right, because I don't want the user to be clicking in the same spot for that 1 second. You get a whole bunch of points. All right, and then finally I have to do my reset button. When the reset button is clicked, I want it to set the global score, right, just simply back to 0. So it's just going to say score 0, and I'm going to call it to update that text. Update score. All right, so when the reset button is clicked, the variable, it sets the global score back to 0. I could do this simply. I think this will work better. Back to 0, right? So that global score is back to 0, and then it does the update score again, which sets the text back to score equals 0, right? That's a little bit easier. So hopefully this makes a little bit of sense. I'm actually going to test it right now. I'm going to go to AI Companion. I'm going to open up my device, scan QR code, and I'm going to test it. All right, I know you guys can't see this, but I just want to make sure it works on my end. All right, so the mole's moving around randomly on the thing. I'm getting points when I click on it. When I hit reset, it resets the score. Awesome. So this all works. Quick overview. We have procedures here that are called upon throughout each event handler. Just make sure you test this and this works. If you wish, you can change the background of this to like a grass background or something, whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. As long as your mole's moving randomly, the score is updating, and the reset button works. All right. If you have any questions, raise your hand. I'll help you out. Hopefully this whole procedure stuff kind of makes sense to you. If not, we'll do some more in later units that'll help you out. All right.